FatDag is a Weight Watchers leader in Indianapolis, Indiana. However, the views and opinions expressed during this podcast are his own. They do not represent the views of Weight Watchers. And now, here's your host and wingman, FatDag.
I am your host, FatDag. You're listening to WhysAdvice. My weight loss journey failed when I focused on how. It wasn't until I switched my focus to why that I truly transformed myself. Join the show on the web at FatDag.com and follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at WhysAdvice. Send in your comments, your questions, and your celebrations. I'll include them as part of the show. But before we dive in, remember, when you're out of points, stop eating points. Hey, I'm honored to be your wingman as we walk through this journey together because I believe in you. Well, hello there. Welcome to episode 137. Just before I came live on the show, I was chatting with a real good friend of mine. We were texting back and forth, and here's someone who's tomorrow morning is headed out to do their annual fitness test for the Air Force. And, for a lot of us, if you've never been in the military, you don't truly understand the amount of stress that comes with that, for one. And if you've been in the military and you were fit your whole life, you don't understand the stress of that pass-fail threshold is frightening. And so for a lot of us, and myself included, I would do everything I could, and every time I would prepare for the test, I would look up all of the minimum numbers in the app and say, okay, the minimum amount of push-ups I can do is this. The minimum amount of sit-ups I can do and still pass is this. The slowest time I can run my 1.5 miles in is this, and I can still pass. If I hit all of the minimums, then I can get a minimum passing score and get this monkey off my back. I tell you, when you get to a point where you're focused on your health and your fitness, something changes. And I noticed that in our exchange today as we were texting back and forth. She was looking up the numbers to make sure that no matter what, she hit a minimum passing score of excellent. She wasn't looking at the numbers for minimum passing just to barely, get a satisfactory. She was focused on all of the numbers she needs to get an excellent score. Now, who knows, right? I mean, it's so many variables that play into it the morning of the test, and that's not what's important, whether she hits that tomorrow or not. What's important is tomorrow morning, there is no way that she can fail this test. Provided that obviously the body continues to do what it's supposed to do, and you go out and just have a good showing. So being able to wake up with the confidence that I can pass the test no matter what, and I just want to strive to do my best and get the best score possible, that's the amazing piece that happens when you change your life and you finally set yourself up for success. So when she goes out there tomorrow, I asked her, I said, text me as soon as you're done, because I want to know what it feels like to know before you start that you're going to pass. And I want to see the excitement when you do that and you're relieved that it just comes easy. And I told the group of folks when I talked to them the other day, I said, the Air Force fitness test for me is really just another workout. There's some weeks that it's just part of my workout routine. So that's where we're at. It no longer becomes the stress. And so being able to push that stress out of your life is the success. So go get it done. I can't wait to get your text. Shelia out of Iowa writes in and she says, "Hi, FatDag. I really enjoyed listening to your podcast. I'm at Lifetime, but need the continued reminders from awesome, helpful people like you to remain disciplined and focused in my own journey. I've been at Lifetime since 2002 after originally joining in 2001. Like a lot of other people, I thought I had a handle on the correct lifestyle to maintain my own, but not so much. This is my at least 5th time to recommit. I did fine losing the weight, but just never figured out the maintaining part. This final time, it feels completely different. I recommitted for 3 months in October 2016 online with coaching, and I lost weight every week. Not always a lot, but I did lose every week. I believe this Smart Points plan has made all of the difference, as I'm no longer willing to use my precious points for sweets, as previous plans didn't make me want to give that up. I joined the meetings again, and when I got close to my goal on the high end of the range, and I reached that in April 2017, therefore getting my lifetime free e-tools status back. At that point, I decided to keep losing for 2 reasons. One, I found it easy to lose, and I didn't know how to maintain, so I thought, well, I might as well just keep losing. And 2, I wondered if I could really hit a weight that I knew I no longer wanted to lose any more weight. After another 15 pounds lost, total over 50, I ended up with that awesome feeling of I don't want to lose any more weight. It feels good. A couple of other things that I'm going to getting a grasp on. Well, number one, it's okay not to struggle with the weight coming off consistently. I kept reading on Connect that you won't make this journey successful unless you go off the rails several times, having to pick yourself up. So I was sure that I was an all or nothing person and would totally be done once I had a gain on the scale. I was in it all the way, tracking, staying within my points, trying to use some of my weekly points, and losing weight every week. I know it's not the norm, but that was easy, and therefore it worked for me. I was waiting for the nothing to show up, but it didn't and it won't. This is my journey, and I'm trying not to compare mine to everyone else's journey. Number 2, I declared myself in maintenance close to a month ago, and I'm surprised that I am okay now with little fluctuations on the scale. I am convinced now that all is and will be okay. I figured I would panic if I saw a gain on the scale, but I haven't. One thing that I'm still unclear about, as I've heard different opinions among leaders, going below your goal weight. I know members who'd have to pay if they go higher than 2 pounds above their goal weight, but going more than 2 pounds below your goal weight is the confusion. I believe that as long as I stay within my range, that I'm okay, even more than 2 pounds under actual goal. Is this correct? I did actually change. I lowered my goal weight from my original, knowing that if I gained that much weight back, I wouldn't stop there anyway, putting my goal weight in the middle of the range, but still having a little room to not panic. Thank you, FatDag, for continuing your podcast, helping lots of people, including me, Shelia from Iowa. Shelia, what a fun conversation. Think of this when you started your journey back in 2001. Here we are, 16 years later, and you're debating, about a 2 pound range between a goal weight that's a number you've never seen before. You're getting a little bit caught up in the details, and I like it, but you're now at a point where you have completely figured out that what you want is to be at goal and get to the point where you no longer have to worry and you feel confident that you do not want to lose any more weight. And it feels good. I agree with you about the smart points. I agree that this plan did the exact same thing for me that it did for you, is it taught me how to eat. I think one of the bigger problems, if I had the opportunity, I would completely rebrand this program and I would call it food school. Right? And certainly Weight Watchers is a great term, and no disrespect there, but isn't it really more about an education? Couldn't we call this, food university or food school? Because that's what we've got to do. We've got to teach ourselves the nutritional value of food and what it provides in our journey, what our body needs to sustain life. All of that we end up learning along the way, but I don't think we make the direct connection that it's the education that gets us and keeps us to goal. So just like you, when the smart points came out, very subtly, it taught me to kind of wean myself off the sugar. And it didn't teach me because they told me sugar was bad. It taught me because sugar was too expensive on my plan. And so I had to make the choice to have it or not have it and to substitute something else in. It was my motto was when I was out of points, I stopped eating points. And what that meant for me is I then had to look at my tracker and say, hey, it's 5 p.m. I can't have dinner because I am out of points. I would look back at my day and say, man, that candy bar at noon, if I didn't have that candy bar or whatever it was, if I didn't have that cookie with lunch, if I didn't have that bag of chips with lunch, I actually would have had enough points left for dinner. And if I actually had something a little higher in protein for lunch, I wouldn't even be hungry at this point, and I would still have time and food and points left for dinner. So all of that became an education in my journey. And just like for you, I credit the Smart Points program to making it happen. You're very wise in not comparing your journey to everyone else's. I've said this more than once on this program, and I mean it with all sincerity. If you like the results that you're getting, continue doing what you're doing. There is not one single way to find success on this program. There are so many different ways to find success that you can't say this is the way to do it. I did it, and so therefore you must try it this way. None of that works. What you have to do is you have to stay in your own lane, not compare yourself to what everyone else is doing. Certainly keep an eye on some of the other options that are out there, but you only employ those options if you've gotten to a point with what you're doing isn't working or you're not satisfied with those results. It's at that point you tap into the community and you say, okay, guys, I've tried this. What other options out there? And so when you get to that point and you say, hey, I actually like the results I'm getting. I've had people email me and say, I'm averaging 1 to 2 pounds a week loss. I'd like to change it up and do something different. And I kind of look at it and say, well, wait, some of my response back is, well, why would you want to change? If you're losing consistently 1 to 2 pounds a week, why do you want to change up? Do exactly what you're doing to continue doing that. So just keep going. You found the balance in your maintenance mode. All is and will be okay because you're happy and you understand that a fluctuation in the scale is absolutely part of the process. You can't weigh zero. You can't lose weight every single week for the rest of your life because that would put you down to 0 pounds, and that's just not possible. You also can't weigh the exact same to the 10th. The body fluctuation is not going to make that possible. If you weighed yourself every single morning, it would be impossible to have the exact number to the 10th for the rest of your life. And if you know that and the fact that you can't weigh zero, then don't you agree that at some point the scale has to go up to balance all of that out? When you accept those fluctuations, if you're in maintenance mode, it's a little easier to accept. When you're in the weight loss mode, it's why we say weigh in once a week, because those small little fluctuations, they get buried in a downward trend and you don't notice them. But for some people, they like to see that daily accountability to a number. And at that point, you have to understand that it's part of the process. Now, when we talk about your range, you're at lifetime, there's a 2 pound range. 2 pounds above, 2 pounds below. I'm a little unclear as well. What I would tell you is if you start getting to the point where you're not in that 2 pound window above and below your goal, if you start losing weight to get below your goal and you're comfortable with what you look like, if you're comfortable with what you feel like, if everything about you is exactly what you want, but you're 5 pounds under goal, well, then let's just reassess if what you thought was your goal is really your goal. As you continue on the journey and you continue to build a healthy lifestyle, and you maybe start adding some strength training in, maybe the scale will continue to fluctuate again. So your goal number will constantly be, I think, a little bit of a fluctuation based on what muscle mass you're building, where you're at, your age. All of that plays in. As long as you stay within the BMI range, the healthy BMI range, if you stay in that range, you can determine what goal you're happy with. If you're not in that BMI range, then work with your doctor and have your doctor agree that, hey, this is the point where, I've changed my life and this is the weight that we're both comfortable with. And if your doctor agrees with that, then does it matter what the scale says? Your scale never takes your blood pressure. Your scale never takes your med labs. Right? Your doctor does all that. So if your doctor agrees you're healthy, let's stick with that. Shelia, keep up the great work. Just continue to follow the program. You're doing fantastic work. I really, really like what you said. I'm sure once this gets out here, someone will say, hey, here's the actual policy on it. And, I don't want to get into the policy side of it. I want to get into the feeling and how you feel, how you look. And that is going to satisfy your mind, and the mind controls the journey. Rhonda writes in, says, hello, I'm a Weight Watchers leader in California. I'm also a struggling lifetime member. I lost 182 pounds 7 years ago. Like you, I was very, very focused, and I diligently tracked during my journey. I never hit a plateau, just a couple of gains sprinkled in. My average loss was between 2 and 3 pounds per week because I denied myself foods that I wasn't willing to give up forever. I set myself up to gain. Right now, I'm 11 pounds over my happy weight. I recently dropped 14, so I was up 25, which is way too much. A member hit her 20 pounds, and you brought in a backpack with 20 pounds of something in it, and that was a real eye-opener. It seems that Weight Watchers isn't as concerned about the employee weight like they used to be. I was hoping that they would say something, thinking that would for sure get me back on track, but it didn't happen. I'm at my legal doctor range now, but not in my healthy range. One of my members told me about you and your podcast. I have not yet listened to all of them, but I'm working on it. I feel a new focus that was gone. Here I am working the plan in California with a new confidence after listening to you. Thank you so, so much, Rhonda. Rhonda, I read your email 3 or 4 times before I decided to put it on the air today, and I fail to see the struggle. You lost 182 pounds, and you've maintained that for 7 years. Isn't that success? Okay, so you're up 11 pounds. You understand, you work the program so successfully that you average 2 to 3 pounds per week with focus, discipline, determination. You easily can get that back. And so it sounds like you're looking for someone else to hold you a little bit of accountability. And I agree with you, the Weight Watchers leaders, the requirement to be an employee is it at a point where you have to have maintained a 10% weight loss. You have to have been doing the program long enough. If you've done that and you're continuing to have success, then you're eligible for membership. And yeah, we weigh in once a month. We bounce it up, and when you hop on that scale if you're in your range or not. Don't wait for someone else to call you out on it. As an employee weigh-in, when I hop on the scale and do my employee weigh-in with someone else, obviously I can't do it myself. I have to have someone else weigh me in. The two of us know if it's in the range or if it's not in the range. But here's where I want you to focus. I don't want you to focus on the struggle. You're saying that you're struggling, and I understand why you think that is happening. The struggle is all in your mind. You've lost 182 pounds 7 years ago. That is incredible success. I don't see a struggle anywhere in there at all. Continue to set the example for the folks in your meeting room. Show them that this is doable. You know what it takes to get back. If you want to drop the last 11 pounds, you know what it takes to do that. It's very easy to do for someone just like you for 7 years have maintained this. You simply at this point say, okay, I can do this. I want you to consider going through and cleaning up some of your data. You say you're at your legal doctor range, but not in your healthy range. The conflict that's causing in your brain is why you think you're struggling. So you're trying to satisfy 2 or 3 different numbers. You're trying to satisfy a number for Weight Watchers. You're trying to satisfy a number for yourself. And you're then trying to balance that with a satisfaction of a number that your doctor agrees on. You're trying to hit 3 different targets. And depending on the day, you hit one or not the other, and it's causing a lot of confusion. Stop the madness. You've lost 182 pounds 7 years ago. figure out where it is you want to settle in and find that number, call it your goal. Have your doctor agree if that's not in your range. If you don't want that number, then get into your healthy range and throw out the doctor note. Find what works for you. Find your happy place. Find the point where you say, I no longer want to lose any more weight. I'm proud of what I did. I feel great. The folks in my meeting room are inspired by my success, and I'm going to continue to inspire them. Rhonda, you can do this. Clear 182, I'm going to say to him, 182 pounds. Incredible. Incredible focus. Thanks for writing in. Thank you so much for being a leader. Every time I find out someone who writes in as a leader and or decides to be a leader, my extreme gratitude goes out for you because, it was a leader that got me in the right place of mind. And so we can't do this alone. And if you take everyone in the room and just kind of put them all there and no one's in charge, we don't have the direction, it doesn't work. And, I've been a leader now for about a year. I know the sacrifice that you go through. I didn't realize this when I signed up to be a leader. I do 2 meetings a week, sometimes 4 a week, depending on the week. I didn't fully understand what it meant when they said you lead a meeting every Tuesday night and every Thursday night. It sounds pretty simple. Yeah, it's every Tuesday night. But then when you understand the word every, I understand the sacrifice that you're making, but I also understand the impact that having someone standing at the front of the room who's lost 182 pounds has and has maintained it for 7 years. That's impact that you can't buy. That's inspiration that you just can't buy. That inspiration has to come from someone who walked it, who did it, who's continuing to do it. And you are that amazing example. I'm so glad that you've joined the team. Thank you so much for that. Out of upstate New York, Robin writes in, says, "Hi, Mike. I thought I'd send my note regarding complacency. I've been a lifetime member at Weight Watchers for over 20 years. I've had numerous periods of complacency or loss of focus. I never quit or I've been too far from my goal weight, but yet I feel all of my lapses in concentration are fixable with a new how. I've been an inline skating marathoner. I lost interest. I ran a 5K, a 10K, half marathons for years. Then I lost interest. Instructed step aerobics classes and even ran weight loss and fitness programs for all the nurses where I worked. Then I lost interest. All of these things are just new tools to help me keep this thing we call maintenance doable. I guess what I'm trying to say is focus is like wearing glasses. I might take them off, but never let them get out of reach. To all, keep your glasses close in sight. As a receptionist at Weight Watchers for 3 years, I found helping others helps me so much more. My recent pair of glasses has been your podcast. My focus is clear, it's once again, and re-energized. Oh, and as a side thought, my non-scale gauge for increasing my laser focus is my pencil skirt, equivalent to your 31-inch jeans. If my skirt is so tight, it twists when I walk, it's time to rein in the points. I, too, am a daily wearer. Thank you so much for your wonderful daily podcast. I try not to binge on old podcasts, but I save those for the days that you just don't. I will say I think my neighbors must wonder what I'm listening to as I power walk along, sometimes smiling, laughing, nodding in agreement, and periodically crying with empathy for some of the hardships of others, of joys for their success. Note, to all successful lifetimers, please help and encourage others along this journey. It will help you tenfold." Robin out of upstate New York. Robin, that's something that I remember recently saying on a past couple episodes, is that it's kind of like me as well, is I know how to do this. And the how will power you. You can be very successful focused on your how. And that how is that, I run marathons, I lead fitness classes, I listen to a podcast, I go to meetings, I teach an aerobics class. All of those things are hows. And so, I think our personalities are very similar because I do that type of stuff too. I bounce around from shiny penny to shiny penny to shiny penny. And at some point, some things in my life, they just kind of get boring and I give up on them. And something new pops up, and that's my new focus for a little while. All of those are hows. Those hows have to be linked together, tied together, glued together with a why. That why will keep you focused, and it'll help you find new hows along the way. I completely agree, and I love what you said about your how basically being equivalent to a pair of glasses. That's what gives you focus and clarity for a little bit of time. As you put them on, it's a tool to help you see better. You just got to work on the fact that, what you're doing as a receptionist is part of your why, and that you understand what it takes to get this done. For 20 years as a lifetime member. Isn't that incredible? Imagine what 20 years would look like if you had, 20 years of not being a lifetime member, 20 years of not focus and not being mindful. There's a good chance you wouldn't have 20 years. Amazing thought to think that you have completely taken control of your life. You've figured out which tools you need along the way. Currently, the podcast is doing it for you. I'm glad that is the case. Start looking for your next why. Start looking for your next how, and tie it with your why so that you can get it done. I agree with you. Being a Weight Watcher receptionist for 3 years now, it absolutely is incredibly rewarding. My role as a leader is extremely rewarding. When I watch people come in the meeting room, I genuinely get excited when people check in. I can't wait to see what they bring to the scale. I can't wait to hear about their week and how they managed to do better than they did the week before, or how they this point just came to the meeting because that's all they had. It's amazing to see them celebrate. It's amazing to walk with them. That's why this podcast for me is another avenue for me to feel that, because I understand that, like I said in the other episode the other night, is that when you reach out to help someone out, the most amazing thing that happens is that you're the one that actually benefits from that. So keep up the amazing work and keep that pencil skirt close. It's great that you have a visual trigger to know that, that if you track, if you don't track, if the weight starts creeping up, you have a point in your journey where you know that, boom, this is it. I have a hard line right here. It's exactly my 31-inch jeans. When those don't fit, danger, danger, danger. I'm not going to buy a new pair of jeans in a larger size. It's just not happening. It's one of the reasons why, admittedly, I paid way too much for these designer jeans. I'm not going to replace them at Costco. I'm going to have to go somewhere else and buy them, and I'm not shelling out the money anymore. When I hit goal, I said, these are what I want. I'm going to pay triple for them, and I'm going to enjoy them. And that is the trigger, just like your skirt is for you. So thank you for absolutely listening. I'm honored to walk this journey with you. I love at the very end of your email, to all successful lifetimers, please help and encourage others along this journey. That is what this community is all about. That's how I got to goal. That's how hundreds of other people get to goal, is because we're following a leader. And it doesn't have to be a leader by title. It's a leader by actions. I read a thing on Twitter today. I wish I could find the quote, and I apologize for misquoting it, but it was something along the lines of, a leader doesn't point the direction and say, go do it. A leader goes and does it and makes the case for why everyone else should come be there with them. That's an amazing accomplishment. It's that you're willing to be a leader and be a receptionist. You're willing to do that and encourage other people, to encourage them, whether they're a leader by title or a leader by example. It absolutely comes back to help you tenfold, just like you said. So Robin, thank you for your email. Carol writes in and says, I started listening to your podcast about a week ago, and in such a short time, it has already been a great motivator for me. As I listened to your podcast, I realized I need to formulate my why. There's always been reasons to lose weight, but I never had to pick one main thing that would help me stay focused. So here goes. My why is that I want to be an active participant in my life. I'm tired of being the person who just lets life pass her by, who always says no to social activities because I don't have anything that fits. Or it will be too demanding for me physically, or I'm ashamed of my appearance. It's always been easier to just watch on the sidelines or live vicariously through my children. I don't want that life anymore. I am so done with it. I joined Weight Watchers for the 50th millionth time in December, and I'm down 60 pounds. I haven't made goal yet, but I see that it's just beyond the horizon. I am now happy. No more self-hate talk about my appearance. When you take control of your life, that kind of talk disappears. Self-control and discipline affect so many areas other than just food. I am now active and living my life the way I have always wanted. Through your podcast and Connect and my meetings, I am absolutely 100% sure I can and I will make lifetime. Thank you for helping us all get there, Carol. Carol, you're absolutely 100% sure you can and you will make lifetime. I'm absolutely 100% sure you will as well. I believe you can do this. I believe more than that you can do it. I believe you will do it because I believe as you wrote this out, that as you were writing it, it probably had an emotional reaction and you're down 60 pounds. So you obviously had it clear in your mind before, but the paragraph in the middle where you say you want to be an active participant in your life, you're tired of being the person who just lets life pass her by. That had to have drawn an emotional response from you that triggered this entire journey. That clearly is your why. You are very fortunate in this regard because your why, the why that you've written down in this paragraph, is 100% solvable. You're not asking for a renewed vitality. You're not asking for renewed, health things that maybe you just can't get back. What you're asking for is just to be able to fit in socially, have clothing that fits, not be ashamed of your appearance. All of that is doable. And as you're down 60 pounds, you're starting to see that it's exactly going away, just like you thought it was going to. Getting rid of that self-hate is probably one of the most important thing we can do on this journey. Because you have to at some point love who you are. The body positivity movement is, it's a great thing, and you can love what you look like. You can love who you are. You can love everything about you and still want to make a change. There's nothing wrong with that. And so the quicker you can get to that point where you love yourself, you're happy with yourself, and you understand that you're taking care of you the best way you can currently, and then it makes it easier for you to care for you. Once you love yourself, once you understand that you're taking care of your body and you're happy, you can then make more choices that continue to feed and fuel that happiness. That's what's going to get you to goal. That ties into that feeling of when you step on the scale for the last time, not wanting to lose weight. It's because you love what you look like, you love what you feel like, you're proud of the hard work that you did, and you don't want to make any more changes at that point. So Carol, congratulations, 60 pounds down. It's amazing work. When's the last time that happened by accident? It doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you stayed focused. You stayed disciplined. You stayed clearly, focusedly deliberate on your goal, on your why, and you're getting it done. It's an honor to walk with you. And I believe, like I said, I absolutely believe you can do it. And I can't wait till you write in and tell me that you did. Denise writes in and says, "Dear Not So Fat Dag, these past few weeks have been rough, to say the least. It all started with my best friend's husband being diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The news is devastating for her and anyone that knows her husband. He is one of a kind and would do anything for anyone. We went to cancer treatment centers of Atlanta, and yesterday they started chemo. This one event months ago would have set me seeking comfort food. I'm an emotional eater, and that's what I know to do. While we were in Atlanta, Hurricane Harvey decided he loved our little town and moved in for 3 days to wreak havoc and cause major destruction to our area. The flooding was so bad that people had to be rescued by boats for days, and our little area has been basically shut down for days. My mother, who lives with us, is a dialysis patient and has only been able to have 2-hour treatments instead of the 4-hour treatment she is supposed to have. There are so many people devastated by the flood. Our school start date had to be postponed until September 11th. All of these things were very stressful for me and for my family. Again, in the past, food would have been my companion in these moments. Then, last night, early this morning, the love of my life, my husband, woke up and passed out 3 times in less than 5 minutes. Of course, I panicked and I called 911. His blood pressure was very low. The paramedics took him to the hospital. I'm happy to report he is just severely dehydrated and exhausted from working so much overtime that he needed fluids and now rest. Again, before I started this journey, while sitting in the ER waiting, I would have consumed snacks from the vending machine and soda, probably blowing through all of my daily, weekly, and fit points. However, after finding your podcast and the accountability partners through you and Connect, I am happy to report that food has not been my constant companion. When I'm out of points, I stop eating points. I also listen to an old podcast, or I go for a walk, or sometimes I read posts just to stay focused. My point to all this rambling is that no matter how hard life gets, if goal is your target, you can stay the course. Much love from Texas, and thank you for being my wingman. Sincerely, Denise. And Denise is on Connect at DDM1130. Denise, I love how you framed this email, and I remember reading about this as it was happening to you. We were chatting back and forth, and all of this was not lost. That was actually happening, and it gives a helpless feeling when you're far enough away that you actually can't do anything about it other than just to know that you're okay and everything's going okay. And I've said more than once that when the middle of these types of scenarios go on, that you just have to focus on doing your best. You wake up every morning, you assess the scenario and the situation you're in, and you do your best under those circumstances. Your best isn't comparable to the day before, the week before, the month before. Your best every morning is based on whatever cards you're dealt the morning that you wake up. Or if it's in the middle of the day when something happens, at that point you have to reassess your best. Isn't it really cool to see that your best, through all this adversity, through everything that you've got going on, your best is to continue to focus on your goal, stay the course, and go get it done and win? That mind shift, the amount of effort that it took to get to where you are now, is a complete lifestyle change. That is what's carrying you to goal. That is what's going to make you super duper successful. That's going to give you anything you want on this journey is yours, because you've adjusted your life. It's so important to choose health over everything else that we have going on, because as you choose health when the times are good, when the times aren't necessarily as good, and you have to then rely on doing your best, it's that habit of choosing healthy that just goes into autopilot, and it frees you up to take care of everything else that's going on in your life. If you don't get that under control ahead of time, then as things start becoming out of control, then there's one more thing to add to your list and we start to spiral. Not you. Not you at all. You clearly understand what you're focused on. You clearly know how to get it done. You know that you have the confidence to do this no matter what life is thrown at you. Now, I'm so sorry to hear about all the tragedy in your family and your life, but I'm so proud of you. I'm incredibly proud to know that through all that you focused on you as you were taking care of others. You made the best choices that you could make. You made you the priority so that you were able to render aid and care to anyone else who needed it because you took care of you first. And when you take care of you first, that frees you up to be able to take care of anyone else who needs it. And that is absolutely worth celebrating. What is it that you're celebrating? Let's share it on the air. Let's go to FatDag.com. Click on Listen Now. Send in your celebrations, your comments, your questions, and I'll work them in as part of the show. I want you to email in your celebrations because I want you to be absolutely proud of what you're doing. If you're doing great, I want to hear about it. If you're at the point where you're struggling, I want to hear about it because I want to focus you, rechannel your energy to show you how great you're doing. If you're down 182 pounds and you think you're struggling, I want to just tell you for a second that you're not struggling. You're killing it. You're doing amazing work. And so that's the value of writing in and sharing it so everyone else in the community can see that, this journey is absolutely doable. Absolutely doable. And when you do it properly, when you change your life, you have a whole new world out there and all those feelings go away that we talked about. You start to love yourself. You can do anything that you want to do. Well, that's going to do it for this time. Remember that losing weight and getting healthy has nothing to do with luck. You have to remain disciplined and focused. Set your sights on your goal and go after it. I wish you good focus.